أَغَيْرَ اللَّهِ أَبْغِيكُمْ إِلَهًا? This is your request? And then Allah Himself intervenes and says, وَإِذْ أَنْجَيْنَاكُمْ. It's not Musa talking anymore, it's Allah Himself saying, how could you say this when we're the ones who rescued you from the people of Fir'aun? They were humiliating you. They were torturing you in the worst ways. They were slaughtering your children. They were letting your women live. And in all of that, all of those, Allah rescuing you from all of that was such a huge blessing for you. And in all of those trials was such a huge difficult test for you. And Allah allowed you to get out of all of that test, and this is what you turn into. Muslims of today, we have to think about some things. In this ayah, in these set of ayat, Allah has taught us to not forget our history and to be grateful for the ways Allah has rescued us. For example, Muslims that originate from South Asia. Muslims that originate from South Asia not a century ago, and some of that extremism is returning now to India, for example, and in Sri Lanka and other places, Buddhism and Hinduism, that they see Islam as a foreign virus that came to that region and we have to get rid of it again. Many of the extremist elements within Hinduism and even Buddhism are seeing that as a problem. But when Islam came and Islam became established in the region, and many of you originate from that region, there were forces ready to mass execute Muslims, to mass slaughter, genocide, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Muslims, and that did not happen centuries ago. Some of you have grandparents that are alive right now that remember. They remember those grandparents, they remember going to the masajid, begging Allah, Ya Allah, give us an opportunity to raise our children on Islam. Ya Allah, give us an opportunity to become to continue the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then you go a couple of generations later, and their grandkids want to have their wedding that looks more like a Hindu wedding than a Muslim wedding. And you go a couple of generations later, and they want to celebrate, they want to idolize idol worship and idol worshippers, like they're celebrities and they're icons. This is just a couple of generations later. It's not even centuries later. And it reminds me of what happened with Musa alayhi salam when Allah allowed them to cross the water. And this is not just for South Asians. This also happened, for example, in North Africa. This happened in Egypt. This happened in other places. These places were also colonized. Algeria was colonized by the French. How many French people slaughtered Muslim youth, slaughtered entire families. And now, for many Algerians, many young Algerians, the greatest dream is to move to France. What? There's still videos and pictures of what these people did to you. There's still that. And there's an embarrassment in learning Arabic, and there's a pride in learning French among some of them. How did that happen? So you take pride in the language of Fir'aun, but you don't take pride and language is from Allah. But I say, especially for Muslims from across cultures and across continents, that one of the things we have to do is not forget our own history. We cannot allow ourselves to forget our own history. Allah reminded Banu Israel of their own history. And one of the things we learn from that is I have to teach my children their own history. Where did you come from? How did Islam come into our family? When did it get there? What were the threats? How did Allah protect this religion? How did we end up where we ended up?